What's up guys, it's 24Yugi back at it again with another video, and today I'm going to be showing you my Blue Eyes White Dragon deck that I updated from the previous video, which was the unboxing and review of it. This time I added a couple new cards, and I'm going to be talking about a couple of strategies and combos that you guys can use while using a Blue Eyes White Dragon deck. So let's get into it. So first off, just by looking at the deck, I wanted to show you guys how I kind of themed off my deck because of the card sleeves. As you can see from my main deck, I have like a blue card sleeve, and for my extra deck, I have a white card sleeve. So kind of like Blue Eyes White Dragon, kind of get it, right? So yeah, I kind of themed it out like that. So yeah, let's get started off with the main deck. So let's keep this to the side. We'll get ready with the main deck. So first up, there's obviously 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons. Now obviously these are going to be your main cards, because a lot of the other cards in the deck are going to be relying on Blue Eyes White Dragon. So that's basically the reason why you want to have 3 in the deck, and obviously it is a Blue Eyes White Dragon deck, so with every Blue Eyes deck you always gotta have those 3 Blue Eyes. And obviously I have the vanilla version of them, the SDK 001s, so yeah. Next up we have 3 Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragons. Again, another great Blue Eyes card, because this one, all you have to do to summon it is you just have to reveal in your hand that you have a Blue Eyes White Dragon, and by doing so you can special summon it onto the field. And the other effect with this monster is that once per turn you can banish a card, but by doing so you cannot attack during that turn that you activated its effect. So it does have a pretty nice effect, and it's a very useful card if you're stuck in some situations. Next we have 2 Dragon Spirit of Whites, another Blue Eyes type monster archetype. This monster is very similar to Alternative Dragon, but except you can only banish spell or trap cards. And the other effect of it is that if you have a Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand, if you want to summon him, all you have to do is just tribute him, and by tributing Dragon Spirit of White, you can automatically summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand to the field. So yeah, it's a nice effect. Moving on to tuner monsters, we have 3 Sages with Eyes of Blue. I again love all of these cards, especially Sage with Eyes of Blue, because its first effect is that if you just normal summon it, like just normally, you can add 1 level light tuner monster from your deck to your hand, except Sage with Eyes of Blue. So you can add, like, you know, Maiden with Eyes of Blue, Effect Veiler, White Stone of Ancients, basically all the other type of tuner monsters that you have in your deck. So yeah, that's the first one. But if you have a really dead hand, you can use its second effect, which is you can target one of your effect monsters and Sage with Eyes of Blue, and by doing so you can tribute them both in order to get a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to the field. So yeah, let me just read that. Yeah, you can special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck. So yeah. Next up, we have 3 White Stone of Ancients. Another great card to have in tough situations. This one, once per turn during the end phase, you can actually special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to the field. And its other effect, when you're not in your end phase, but when you're in your other phases, you can bring back a Dragon type monster from your graveyard back to your hand. So again, kind of useful here and there. So yeah. Next up, we have 2 White Stone of Legends. I like to keep this thing because if you have a dead hand, which is usually going to happen a lot, this thing will come in handy definitely, because if this monster is sent to the graveyard, you can obviously get a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand. So it's pretty useful if you have a dead hand, or you have a hand that you really need Blue Eyes White Dragon for it. So yeah, kind of useful sometimes here and there. Next up, we have 2 Maiden with Eyes of Blue. I was actually talking about her earlier with Sage with Eyes of Blue, but I also love her effect as well, because what her effect is, if an opponent attacks Maiden with Eyes of Blue, you can switch her position into defense. Well, if you summon her in attack position and your opponent attacks, and that will allow Maiden with Eyes of Blue to switch into defense mode, and by doing so, you can actually special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck, graveyard, or your hand. So yeah, it's pretty nice with Maiden with Eyes of Blue. Next up, we have 2 effect veilers. Again, another card to add, same thing like White Snow Legend, just like another card that you like to keep in your deck, but you're not going to be using it too often, just in those tough situations that you need it for. This one is mainly there, like if your opponent activates an effect that you know will like cost you a lot or something, then you can use Effect Veiler to Veiler it or just stop the effect and continue on with the duel without being affected. So yeah, it's a great thing if you're in those tight situations. And the last trainer monster, or just last low-level monster, is a Maxi. This one, you mainly just would send it to the graveyard because it gives you some extra draw power and stuff. And yeah, all you have to do, you just have to send this to the graveyard. And by doing so, every time your opponent special summons a monster, you can actually add a card from your deck to your hand. So it's a nice way to get some more draw power. Next, I have 2 Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh YouTubers, they don't really add Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon to their Blue Eyes deck, but they have a different type of deck profile that is mainly with Chaos Max Dragon. But I like to keep Chaos Max Dragon because I really love his effect, and I think it's pretty useful like when you have top board or like when you're in the lead. And obviously when you're in the lead, your opponent will like, go more defensive instead of offensive. So they're most likely just going to keep on playing monsters in defense position, so they're not going to lose life points. But this card can still give them damage. It can give them double the damage by attacking a defense monster. So yeah, and he's also pretty easy to bring out, especially with all the other cards in the deck. So yeah. And the last monster that I have in this deck is Obelisk the Tormentor. I kind of just added him because, Blue Eyes is kind of like a Kaiba deck, and Kaiba is more with Obelisk the Tormentor for an Egyptian god. So I kind of like him, and plus, obviously, if your opponent has activated like a strong effect that you can't get rid of, obviously you can still persevere with this one, because this one, all effects won't be, affecting Obelisk because obviously he's a god, so, it won't affect him. So yeah. Moving on to spell cards, we have 3 trade-ins. I like to keep this card because you're obviously going to need more draw power, and yeah, just a lot of draw power, which is basically out from trade-in. And you can obviously discard like a Blue Eyes monster or something from your deck to the graveyard, because you're probably going to be having a lot of Blue Eyes monsters in your hands, since there's like 8 of them. There's like 3 Blue Eyes, there's 3 alternatives, and there's 2 Dragon Spirit of White, so yeah. Next up we have 3 Melody of Awakening Dragons. Another one of my favorite cards because you just have to discard 1 card, and by doing so you can actually pick 2 Dragon type monsters from your deck to your hand. So this one I usually summon Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, because if you have no monsters out on your field, or if you have like a really bad hand and you can't really summon any monsters with it, then you can use this card and discard a different card in your hand, and you can get a Blue Eyes and an alternative, show your Blue Eyes, and then summon your alternative. So yeah, it's a great thing if you have no monsters. Next, I have 3 Return of the Dragon Lords. Again, a great card. I really recommend it for anyone who's using like a Dragon type deck, because this is basically like a Monster Reborn, but for just Dragon type users. So this one, you can target a level 7 or 8 Dragon type monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So basically in this case, it would be like a Blue Eyes or, any other level 7 or level 8 Dragon type monsters you have. And again, another effect that this one has is if your opponent attacks like, like a Blue Eyes White Dragon or something, and, it'll cost you something, then you can banish this one, and your Blue Eyes White Dragon will still remain out on the field. But you'll probably take battle damage if the monster that is attacking your Blue Eyes has a higher attack point. So if that's the case, you'll probably still lose battle, life points, but you'll still have your dragon out on the field. So it's a great card. I really recommend it. Next, I use 3 Silver Scries. Again, like another reborn card for dragons. You just have to target one dragon type normal monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And obviously you can't use multiple of these each turn, but again, another great reborn card for dragons. So yeah. Next we have 2 cards of consonants. This one, you can obviously send your White Stone of Ancients or your White Stone of Legend to the graveyard, and by doing so you can get draw 2 cards. For this one, even though in the picture, as you can see, it shows White Stone of Legend, I don't actually use White Stone of Legend that much with this effect. I actually use White Stone of Ancient because of his effect, and I really like his effect more than White Stone of Legend. Because if you can automatically send your White Stone of Ancient to the graveyard, then you can, during that end phase, you can summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck to the field. So that's one of the main reasons why I like cards of consonants. But there's obviously many other combos you can use with this card, so yeah. Next up, we have 3 Dragon Shrines. This card, obviously, you can just send monsters to the graveyard, like basically your Dragon type monsters. So for this one, you can send like a White Stone of Ancients, or my bad. You'd have to send like a Dragon Spirit of White, and since Dragon Spirit of White is a normal monster, you can send either like a White Stone of Ancients or White Stone of Legend to the graveyard, so you can use his effect. Plus you can actually use both of the effects of White Stone of Ancients with this one, is that you can obviously summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck to the field, and the second effect is that you can bring that Dragon Spirit of White from your graveyard back to your hand. So it's a great effect to use. So yeah. Next up, I have 2 Chaos Form. Not a lot to explain with this. This is just there for summoning Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. All you have to do, you just have to sacrifice, like, for example, like a Blue Eyes White Dragon or something from your hand, and then by doing so, you can summon a Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. So yeah, pretty simple. Next we have Soul Charge. Again, another great spell card that I definitely recommend. Actually, any deck I would recommend to add Soul Charge, because this is kind of like a last chance card, because during the end of the duel, you're probably gonna most of your strong monsters will go to the graveyard, and if you're in like tight situations that you like really need all of your monsters back, this thing will help you out. But there is obviously a cost to it. For each monster that you bring back, you will have to sacrifice 1,000 life points for each one you bring back. But if you do have at least 5,000 life points left or something during the duel, then obviously you can summon up to like 4 monsters and still have like 1,000 life points left, and use those 4 monsters to good use. But that's obviously just a situation where you can use it, but I definitely recommend using it like near the end of the duel and not like the beginning, because the beginning you're kind of just wasting the card, while in the end you'll probably be using it like for a better chance. So yeah. Next I have Supply Squad. This one I like to keep because, again, some more draw power. This deck is basically there for getting you out of tight situations, and also giving you a lot of draw power. So this one, if all of your monsters by the end of the turn are destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can obviously draw a card. So if they use like Raigeki, or if a monster destroys all of your cards or something, then you can use this and draw 1 card. So yeah. And the last spell card is Twin Twisters. Another kind of effect like Dragon Spirit of White, but this one's just kind of there because you can discard 1 card. You can target up to 2 spell or trap cards onto the field and destroy them. So if you just want to get rid of some of your opponent's spell or trap cards, this is a great card to do it with. So yeah, not much else to explain it with. Moving on to trap cards, I have 3 Solomon Strikes. Now this one is a bit of a pricey one. I have like a playset of it because, it's very useful sometimes, because, your opponent, most of the monsters these days have like, some pretty high effects. And with Solomon Strike, you can actually negate some of those effects, and it'll really help you out. All you have to do, you just have to sacrifice 1,500 life points in order to negate a monster's effect. So yeah, it is kind of a pricey thing, but if you guys are willing to get it, then it's well worth it. So yeah. And last but not least, I have Solomon Warning. This one is like when This one, it's basically like Solomon Strike, but it has more effects to it, because not only can you negate like a monster's effect, but you can negate like spell cards, trap cards. So basically any kind of effect you can negate it with Solomon Warning. But this one you'd have to pay 2,000 life points, but again, pretty worth it if you have it out. Now the reason why I don't have a lot of these ones is because of the ban list, and the ban list will only allow you to have one Solomon Warning. So that's the only reason why you can keep one. So yeah. But that is my main deck, and now we will move on to my extra deck. So just give me 1 second. Alright, so here is my extra deck. So we'll start off in the back with the Xyz monsters. So right here, we have Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon, number 107 Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, number 62 Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, Galaxy Eyes Full Armor Photon Dragon. Give me a second. And last but not least, we have Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon, number 95. I don't really use all of these Galaxy Eyes. I use mainly these three. They help me out a bit here and there because I kind of like to topple Xyz stuff, which means like, like when you Xyz something, you can Xyz it again. So yeah. So with Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, I like to do a combo. So for example, if there's like 2 blue eyes or something, then you can Xyz summon those, and you can summon Prime Photon Dragon. And then I like to over topple Xyz with Galaxy Eyes Full Armor Photon Dragon, and then I kind of use that for some time. But then if I kind of like want to like move on a step, I could over topple Xyz with this number 95 Dark Eyes Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon. So yeah, that's kind of the thing I like to do with that. But for these two ones, Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon and number 107 Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, I kind of just use it there if it's like a last resort. I don't really use it much, but they do have some pretty good effects, and that's why I keep it in my extra deck. But other than that, they're just kind of there if it's necessary. So yeah. But those are my Xyz Galaxy Eyes cards. And I do have 2 more Xyz monsters. So these 2 are my last Xyz monsters that I have in my extra deck. So I have number 38, Hope Heartbringer Dragon Titanic Galaxy, and Divine Dragon Knight Felgren. Number 38, Hope Heartbringer Titanic Galaxy Dragon, this one has a pretty good effect because if your opponent activates like an effect or something, you can use that card as an Xyz material, and then this effect for the Xyz material is you can target one face-up Xyz monster you control, and it gains equal to one of those destroyed monsters' original attack. So you can use that for like Xyz materials and stuff if you need it. So yeah. And then Divine Dragon Knight Felgren is kind of like a more protective kind of thing. Like if there's like a really important card out on your side of the field that you want to protect, because this one you can detach one Xyz material from this card and then target one face-up monster on the field. And if you target that monster, it can't be affected by any other effect that someone may play on it. So it'll become more safe and protective. So this one's more like basically as it is like a knight, so it kind of just like protects another card that is more valuable. So yeah. Moving on to my synchro monsters. Do it this way. There's 2 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragons. I like to use one of them for like a combo move that I'll talk about in just a sec, and I like to use the other one for like, if I have enough level 8 monsters or a lot of tuner monsters. But I like to do the combo first. So what I usually do is that I synchro summon Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, and then maybe after a couple turns I will tribute him in order to summon the next 2 synchro monsters, which are either of these 2, Black Rose Moonlight Dragon or Michael the Arc Lightsworn. I usually go for Michael the Arc Lightsworn because I like his effect when you summon him. For example, it says you can pay 1,000 life points, then target one card on the field and banish it. So if you summon him, you can use that ability and banish an opponent's monster. And then after that, if you have another tuner monster, you can tune that one with this card, and you can get the almighty Give me a second. You have the almighty Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Obviously, this card's a bit pricey, but you know, if you've I mean, I got this one out of a pack, but if you have it, it's great. If you want to get it, I mean, you can probably get it online, but it has a great effect, and this card kind of just like locks down the duel, and I'll talk about that in a sec right after I talk about all the other cards. So, besides that, I have Stardust Spark Dragon and Azurai Silver Dragon. They're basically the same thing as like Divine Dragon Knight Felgren. They're basically there to like keep a card safe or something. So yeah. It's basically that kind of effect. And yeah, basically Crystal Wing, as I was talking about it. It does have a lot of effects, and I'll kind of talk about a couple of them. One of them is that you can if your opposing team, or you know, your opponent uses a monster's effect, you can negate the activation, and if you destroy that monster, and if you do that, this card gains equal attack to the destroyed monster's original attack until the end of this turn. So you basically just gain the attack points of the destroyed monster that you destroyed. And also the other one is, if you're in battle phase and if you're attacking a level 5 or higher monster, basically this card gains additional attack to what the level 5 monster or higher has, and then you can battle it out. So let's say if you're kind of losing and then you magically brought out Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, like, let's say there's like a level 5 monster that has like 3,000 attack, and while this card has 3,000 attack, right? So if you go during battle phase and if you battle, this card will have 6,000 attack points, and then you can easily destroy that and give 3,000 life point damage to your opponent. So it's a pretty big winner. So, you know, it kind of just locks down the duel. So yeah. And last but not least, I have one fusion monster, Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. There was a lot of hype about this card before, but after a while, like when I was using it, it's, you know, you don't really use it that much. You only use it like if you can't really get rid of something, because this thing does have a pretty good effect if it's necessary. But what this thing can do, it can basically, you don't even need polymerization to summon it. You just have to sacrifice 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons, or like an alternative dragon or something, and you can summon it. This thing can attack twice up to, in a battle phase, it can attack twice, and if you battle a monster, and if that monster isn't destroyed by it, then you can banish it. So yeah, that's also, it's basically one of its main effects, so yeah. But it is a nice card, and it is also kind of pricey too, so yeah, just beware. But yeah, that is basically my, my Blue Eyes White Dragon deck. Let me just kind of set this up here. But yeah, hopefully you guys like this video. If I get some other Yu-Gi-Oh decks, I will definitely make a video on it. And I'll try to make some more videos, because, you know, I don't usually make videos that often. But if I do, I might do some unboxings and reviews of other stuff besides, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh products and all. But yeah, just tune in on the next one, guys. So, peace.